In Ottawa today, Prime Minister Justin Trudeau was asked when he was last tested for COVID-19.
Earlier in September, I had a bit of a throat tickle is probably the best way I could say it, a bit of a raspy throat. So I checked with my doctor and he recommended I get tested. I got tested. It was negative. And I went back to work a few days later when the doctor told me I was clear to do it.
Test results aren't coming back that quickly for everyone. There's a backlog of more than 65,000 tests in Ontario, for example, and it's taking up to a week for results. That's causing huge problems with contact tracing, which has to happen fast to break the chain of transmission. An average of 71,000 people were tested each day in Canada over the past 7 days. 1.7% of them tested positive. Ontario and Quebec account for more than 80% of the new infections in this country. And this is the picture today. Quebec is reporting nearly 1,200 new cases, the fourth consecutive day of more than 1,000 new cases. Ontario has more than 600 today. Manitoba has 51. Alberta is recording more than 200 new cases for the second day in a row, a two-day tally that's not been seen since April. And BC has 120 new positive cases. We're also watching hospitalizations again. The numbers are highest in Ontario and Quebec, and they're slowly rising. An average of 585 people in Canada were in the hospital for COVID-19 on any given day during the last 7-day period. Canada's chief public health officer fears that will begin to rise because the virus is beginning to appear again inside long-term care homes, especially in Canada's two biggest provinces.
That's a signal that you could get more hospitalizations and then later on mortality or death. So that is clearly something that you got to just immediately prevent. Otherwise, the healthcare system is the next sort of frontier that might be overwhelmed, and we want to prevent that.
As of yesterday, at least 219 residents in long-term care homes in Quebec had COVID-19 and 124 residents in Ontario care homes. Quebec has reimposed restrictions in COVID-19 hotspots, and Ontario is spending more money to try to keep schools safe. That doesn't address the strain on labs, though, that do the testing and on the contact tracers. Abigail Bimman reports.
So I have to go online. I didn't know.
Confusion at this Ottawa test centre, closed until Tuesday as all centres in the province moved to online booking.
Someone told you to come here?
Yeah, from the doctor.
We're working hard to make sure that the information is as clear as possible.
Not clear enough for Fred Glode, waiting for a test as he cares for older relatives.
Now, everybody's saying, well, they're doing their best. People are dying. Doing your best isn't good enough.
The testing regime is in crisis. The backlog is huge. Ontario-wide, we're over 90,000 backlog cases, and there is no obvious way to chip away at that before some of those specimens expire.
The Prime Minister says federal labs are chipping in, but the numbers don't match.
Including for Ontario for 1,000 tests a day. And additional federal labs will be added. On contact tracing, we have agreements in place with Ontario, Quebec, and Alberta, with more to come for other provinces and territories.
We could have another 700 people added to the ranks and still be unable to contact trace with the same reach and results as when infection rates were lower.
Ontario's premier announced $35 million for schools and hotspots. Quebec announced more restrictions in the province's 3 red zones, closing gyms, cancelling team sports, and changes at schools, including mandatory masks for high school students.
All the actions that we are taking today could and should prevent the closing of schools.
And on the global stage, a Canadian virologist is one of the newest Nobel laureates, and he's worried about Canada's manufacturing hole.
We need the ability as a country to respond at the manufacturing level. I think COVID especially has highlighted a big deficiency in Canada's ability to respond to epidemics.
Manufacturing for things like our own vaccines and tests. Monday, the Deputy Prime Minister promised the first shipments of rapid tests will arrive from the U.S. next week. And she promised more to announce on the rapid test front, quote, very soon. Abigail Bimman, Global News, Ottawa.